Hey guys, this is the Brian and Jessi show. We're so glad that you're joined us today. Will you do me a favor and push that subscribe button so you know when our stuff comes out? Also, we would love it if you'd share it with your neighbors, friends, family, mom, aunt, anybody that you know that would enjoy a good conversation about
cellmates.
Everything. Old cellmates,
Yes.
Okay? But we're glad that you're joining us today. So feel free to tune in, listen in, subscribe, and share. We love all of it. Today, we're going to just cover a subject that would be helpful to everybody, I think. It is a Christian principle, but I think it'll be pretty good for everybody that is involved. There's a scripture that we have lived by for years and years and years. And the longer that we see community fail and around us, the more I'm reminded of this. There's two principles that I try to live by. There's one principle in scripture. It says, kiss the son lest the father be angry.
That's a good one.
And that's a good one because if you're good to people's kids, they will like you more and they will be better to you. So we always try to live by that and make sure that we honor children because we honor up, honor down, honor all the way around. But when you honor kids, man, God he just gives you favor. Yeah. And people like you more. You know, when people don't like my kids, I don't like them. I mean, that's 100%. the bottom
They're
line.
out. You don't like my kids, you're out.
And there's a second principle, and it goes like this. Mourn with those who mourn and rejoice with those who rejoice.
Yeah, it's Romans 12:15. I have it right there.
Let's read it.
It says, rejoice. It depends on what version. This is English Standard Version.
Do it.
Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep.
So I think, especially this week, we have a ton of really close friends that we consider like family on the island of Maui. And so I've been reminded of it this week because they've had a huge disaster, fire, tragedy. And when I heard, I cried, and for days. And I'm not a huge crier unless I'm really mad. And maybe that was part of it. I was mad. And tears just kept coming to my eyes. I do this with my children when they hurt. For some reason, I used to be able to just watch people get hurt. Didn't hurt me. I didn't think about it. But when you have kids, something changes in your DNA, and it's like an inability to excuse or ignore pain in your child. So it's like if my kids get hurt, now I get like almost nauseous pain. Sure. If they get really hurt, I don't mean just like fall or something, but I mean deeply, even if it's like an emotional harm that comes to them, like they're really hurt by a friend or deeply, I feel it when my kids are hurt. And I'm even more sensitive to the people around me since we've had kids. I know you've said that you are.
Oh, I used to not like when guys would get hit real hard playing ball. Like, almost knocked out kind of deal. Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, he got hit, shake it off. And now, I feel it it's almost like the nerves down my legs. Yes. Right? When I see somebody, hit their shin off a skateboard or something, I feel it for them now.
Isn't that funny?
And I don't know if it comes with age or parenthood or maybe I'm a better human than I used to be.
I don't know.
But you feel it, and that's part of weeping with those who weep, right?
Yeah, and I think that we forget this because we're just kind of in our groove, doing our thing, moving through life, going to work. We're busy. Everybody wants to say they're busy, and it's kind of like a badge of honor, And we forget really that weeping with those who weep is a part of being a great human, and that it is God's will that we stop and take time to feel and have empathy for someone's pain. It's a great thing to have empathy. It means that you're a healthy human being. People that don't have empathy have severe problems.
Oh, yeah.
And so to teach our kids, a lot of times I think we guard our kids from any kind of pain. We don't want them to get hit. We don't want them to get hurt. We don't want the boy to break up with them. We don't want the girl to break up with the boy. We want to guard them and guard them and guard them. And I think sometimes we take away the ability to build empathy because without pain, no empathy comes. You don't feel what someone's feeling whenever you haven't experienced a similar kind of, or some kind of pain in general. And so it says weep with those who weep. And then on the other side, rejoice with those that rejoice. And I also think that we think we're too busy to get caught up celebrating. And celebration is a spiritual discipline that I think every, especially believer, should capture. But I think sometimes people that aren't Christians do better than Christians because we're just trying to
celebrating.
Celebrating. We're like holy and pious and, trying to be good and all these things. And there is a little missing celebration, I think, to the church these days. And I think if we could find things to celebrate, really pursue celebration, that the joy that God has actually promised to Christians and believers would be all around us and draw people in. It's attractional when you celebrate, especially if you're celebrating something that's not your win. When you can celebrate someone else's win, that's powerful,
It's massive. I think about, you said weeping with those who weep, mourning with those who mourn. The tragedy on Maui, unreal right now.
Unreal.
And we have a group of people there we love. You mentioned them. They're friends. We're in covenant with them. They preach at our churches. We preach for them. That's the Moroccos. And going back almost a decade now.
Even then, we have people that we've preached for. They preach for us, and not even close to family.
No.
These people are precious.
They're our people.
We love them. They're ours. They belong to us. We belong to them. It's just one of those God relationships that those precious relationships.
If anybody watching, if you want to do something, I think the counts today went up higher. I forgot if it's somewhere close to the 90s now. It was late 60s, high 60s,
I think
and it's going up.
At least 98.
It's in the 90s now, and the last I saw, there was still this may be a day old. There were 1,300 unaccounted for people. So you're talking, this is tragic. This is massive. The whole city of Lahaina is gone, is razed. King's Cathedral lost church on Lahaina. But people lost their lives. They lost their children, their sons, their daughters, all the places they work in Lahaina.
Everybody was out of school that day, so a lot of children were home alone and unable to leave their homes, and they've lost a lot of children in that community. That's unbelievably heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's
I'm unable to wrap my brain around that kind of loss,
It's a massive loss. It's the loss of a whole town, not just any town. That's a historic, old school Hawaiian town that is right at their heart. It's who Maui is. It's a part of them. It's Lahaina, man. I love Lahaina. We've been over there, I don't know how many times, a bazillion times. So you hate to see that kind of loss.
Yeah.
And the appropriate response when humanity is suffering, if you are humane at all, is to weep with them. Right? It should break your heart. You should still feel that. That makes us human. It makes us different than the rest of a lot of the creation.
Yeah.
Because we have empathy.
I just was thinking about it because you just said that, but I was in my car just talking to a friend, and she was talking about it because she's from there. And my little girl was sitting next to me. I didn't even know she was paying any attention. And I look over, she's 11, and she is just weeping for this lady. And I thought, man, we get so desensitized to the tragedy in our world because we see it every day, all day long. And it's so prevalent. Like used to, people saw a newspaper about something, but they didn't see the picture. And it's just right there in front of us every single day on every news outlet. And people see it just repeat and repeat and repeat. And I do think there's something that, our hearts get a little hard.
Yeah, you can get used to.
Yeah.
Tragedy because we have so much access to the world, to what's happening. Interesting that our little girl was touched like that. But she knows that place. She knows those people.
Absolutely.
She's been there many times. She knows
her,
exactly
her friends.
She plays with those kids and stuff when you're over there. But the appropriate response is to weep and to teach our children to be soft and tender-hearted like that, right?
Yeah, the Bible says that he'll take a heart of stone and make it back into a heart of flesh.
Yeah.
And I really think
Jeremiah.
that's a miracle that God can take a heart of stone or someone that's been hardened or, desensitized by the world and turn it into a heart of flesh through his salvation power and his blood. And I think that's something that we can ask of God. And when we get to that place where we're moved, that's how God reminds us that emotion isn't just there to be an emotion. It's an emotion that God uses to push us to prayer.
Sure.
And so when we feel this, overwhelming. We had a child go missing in our community a few months ago, and I began to just cry for this mother, really, because I could feel what that would, and I began to just pray and ask God to help them. And she doesn't know me from Adam. I'll never probably meet her in my entire life, but I've been praying for her because I believe that God not only wants to find her child and protect her and her child, but he also wants to restore her heart and, whatever went wrong.
Spirit of God.
And so God's looking for an entry point. And I think our prayers are an entry point into people's lives that we very much underestimate.
100%. Prayer's powerful.
It is.
And I think the weeping and weeping with those that weep, right? When you're weeping or when life is messed up, and as a pastor, you get called in when stuff's messed up.
Yeah, you do.
Right? When people are dying, they're going to take people off life support. Car wrecks happened. There's this long to live. All that kind of stuff. Man, you show up and do a lot of funerals, right? People have lost their lives. You show up. So there's something about when people are going through their darkest days, right? People are like, what should I say? What do I do? As a pastor, it doesn't matter. Listen, what you say doesn't matter.
They'll never remember it anyway.
Yeah, they're not.
Unless it's real stupid.
Yeah, unless you say something real stupid.
Which I've done.
You've been famous for saying stupid stuff during times of loss.
In my defense, I was raised in a household where there were not, in a church that was very young. And so we didn't have a lot of funerals, and I didn't attend very many funerals. So
Jessi's like a fish out of water at a funeral. She's the worst.
So bad.
Don't ever go to a funeral with her unless you want to be, humiliated.
Oh,
so go ahead.
I do think I'm getting better in my 40s.
That's good.
I think I'm pulling the nose up. But we laugh because young pastors, I was 23 when we began to pastor. And I would try to think of something to say that would sound like me. The best thing you can say is, I am so sorry for your loss. And just hug them and just be there, show up. I think people do underestimate the power of showing up. I've had so many people tell me, I just don't like funerals.
I don't do funerals.
Nobody likes funerals.
Who would like a funeral?
It's terrible. But you go and you pay your respects to a person.
You do what's right.
And you let their family know that person mattered. You matter. I see you in your mourning. You matter to us. You're not alone. You're good. God is going to bring you out of this. And so I'm not very good at it though, because I just go. And so I just keep my mouth shut now. But used to, you would say, are you yawning at my conversation? Am I boring you?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? So I would go into these funerals and I would say, hey, I wouldn't say, hey, that's not what I would say.
Hey, I'm here. Yo. What's up, G?
That would have been worse. I actually would just be like, well, hello. And I would try to say something that was creative. That's the wrong move.
No. It's no time to unveil your new, whatever.
No, it's bad.
Creativity.
Inevitably, I would always be like, how are you? And they would be like, I'm not very good. My mother just died
how you
unexpectedly. Doing? And so I'm like, oh, why did I say that? But it's just but one time your mom is the queen of the right thing to say, queen of manners.
Mom is an expert at funerals.
She's the expert funeral attender. She knows exactly what to do. And so she's given me a speech because she knows that I'm not
buries somebody
smart.
Every day.
Oh, it's crazy how many funerals
she's there all
attended.
The time. Yeah.
And more than us, and we've pastored.
100%.
She's pastored all of that end of the state. But anyway, she looks at me in the car and she says, now, Jessi, this is what you say. You say, I am so sorry for your loss. Say it with me. I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. Just say that. Don't say anything else. You don't need to be creative. Just say that. That's what people need to hear from you right now. I said, okay. So we jumped out of the car. Do you remember this day? It was great. And I said, I always inevitably say something stupid like, how are you? So we walked into this funeral and this man had literally just lost his mother unexpectedly, very young. And and he happened to have a great sense of humor. Thank God.
He's one of my buddies. He grew up with me.
I walked up and I said, I am so sorry for your loss. He said, thank you. And I was so proud of myself. And then your mom came after me and she said, how are you? And she looked at me, she looked at him and she said,
he didn't let her off easy.
No,
he was fun.
And he starts laughing. He's like, I'm not doing too good. My mom just said, she's like, oh my
mom's
gosh.
dead, Abigail.
She goes, of course you're not good. I don't know why I asked that. Please forgive me. And then she looks at me like she just hates my guts. We walked out and she goes, you aren't allowed to talk anymore.
You did this to me.
She's like, you messed me up. I said a mind bullet to her. But honestly, showing up, I remember when your dad passed away, how appreciative you were for people that just showed up, didn't say a word, just sat down beside you, brought you food, brought you something to drink, just cared for you and were around, but they didn't have to say the right thing.
Right. They don't have to say anything. It's weeping with those who weep. So they show up, they express, that they know you're hurting.
Yes.
And they care about you.
That's big. Say that again. They express that they know.
They know you're hurting, right? And they care about you.
That's a big deal when you're hurting.
Yeah, it's like this person recognizes that it's not easy for me today, and they care enough to put on a navy blue blazer, right?
Which every man should have.
Every man should have a navy blue blazer, right? Guys, if you don't ever going to wear a sports coat or suit or whatever, you can at least get a navy blue blazer, right? You get one nice shirt and a tie. And a lot of the funerals you don't have to wear a tie to, but anymore. Yeah. But depends on how close you are to coastlines or Texas or where you are.
We tell our boys, like, you just got to have one navy blue blazer. It'll carry you through life.
Navy blue blazer, tie. Now, if they're out in Texas or even probably more so Texas, you can get away with navy blue blazer, tie, shirt, jeans, and boots.
A lot of places.
Middle America. Coastlines probably can't.
Just looking appropriate, like not looking like this was an afterthought. I don't care about it. No, I got up this morning and your pain was on my mind and I dressed appropriately so that I could come and say, I know this person, I know you, whoever it is that you know, and their life mattered.
Yeah.
And I think that's so much bigger. And COVID kind of wrecked community in general. And I think in a way it wrecked this part. Like young girls, even like I would say my age girl.
27?
They don't, 27, yeah. In their 40s even, and especially 27.
Are you in your 40s?
I am.
No.
And they don't think I should take them a casserole or I should bake them a cake and take it and drop it on their porch. Don't stay for an hour. They don't want to talk to someone for an hour. Leave them alone. If they've gone through a tragedy, let's just
unless they indicate they want you.
Yeah, but if they lost their job, God forbid, they lost a child, they lost a spouse, they lost a parent, they lost someone. The best thing you can do is, there's a reason that we have like generationally a tradition of feeding people, comforting them at the risk of sounding like I belong on the Big Bang Theory. Bring them a warm drink. Do something that's comforting, kind. Bring something that would just be, something that would help them during that time. They don't have to cook as much. Those kinds of things matter, and they're huge whenever you're going through a tragedy. For someone just to weep with you and to acknowledge that you're in pain. Yeah. Let's switch over to the celebration because that's the fun part. And I do think that we underestimate the power of our existence in people's lives. Obviously, we're not a big deal. And if it's their day, it's their day. I tell this to the kids all the time, because let me say one more thing about weeping. I was with my kids the other day and they were like, someone said someone died. And they were like, well, at least your dad didn't die. They didn't say it to the person. They were saying it in thank God.
That's good.
And I was like, well, we don't compare tragedy and we don't compare celebrations. Like we're not comparing ourselves with one another. It's not a competition. It's community. And I think if people can get that sorted, this is not a competition. It's community. If I tell you something, you do not have to one-up my tragedy. And if I tell you something I'm celebrating, you don't have to one-up my accomplishment. Just be like, man, I am so happy and so proud that you have accomplished this. I just want you to know that I think that it's incredible that you took the time and effort to do this, or that this happened to you for no reason, or that you are pregnant and you're expecting a baby, or whatever it is that someone's going through that life moment, man. For someone to look at someone who's had like 6 children and they're going on their 7th and they say, yeah, I'm having my 7th child, because they're always a little bit gun shy because the community, has things to say that with people that like reproduce and celebrate, life.
That's terrible.
God forbid.
You doing what the scripture says, being fruitful and multiplying.
I love it. So every person that I see that like in that kind of situation, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so exciting. And their faces light up because it really is big that when you're celebrating something that someone celebrates it alongside you.
Rejoicing with those who rejoice, celebrating with people.
Yeah.
Letting them know that you're excited that something good has happened in their life. It's another way you can show you value them as a human, value them as a person, and that you're paying attention to their existence. So big, so massive, and so powerful. I have to admit that this is not something I'm great at.
You don't like to stop. It's not that you don't like it.
I'm
you
happy
love that they're happy.
Do well.
Yeah.
Some people don't celebrate when something good happens for others because they're jealous kind of people.
Yes.
Right. I want people to do well. I want their family to be blessed, right? I want their businesses to succeed. I want them to make money, right? I want them to have
Absolutely.
nicer, whatever they want. I'm for them, right? I'm not the kind of person that, there's a lot of people out there that are jealous when they're happy with them until they do just a little bit better than they do.
Yeah.
Right?
If you make $1 more or your house is 1 square foot bigger.
Yeah, you're making too much. What's too
no
much
more
money?
housewarming for you.
You're making too much money when you make $1 more than I make, right?
Yes.
When your house is 1
Everybody
square foot
kinda,
bigger
that's the nature
than my
of-
house. You don't need that big house. It's bigger than mine.
Yeah.
Right? I'm really, we rejected that kind of thinking a long time ago in our life.
We did.
We believe that Jesus is a generous Jesus. And we believe that God is a God that helps people go forward.
Yep.
Right? The word prospers in the Bible.
To push forward.
And all prosper means is to push forward. God will help you push forward. So whenever I see somebody going forward in life, doing better, right? It's like a new marriage, a new whatever, family, success of any kind. I'm always thankful and happy for them. I believe that if I rejoice when my brother gets his fatted calf, then maybe God will give me my fatted calf, right?
Yeah.
If you're small about it, I think you cut down opportunities of what God's going to give you. So yes, I want to rejoice. Problem with me has always been I've lived in the future, right? I've always lived in what's next.
You don't even really think to celebrate your own successes.
I don't celebrate my own successes. Honestly, we walked into a deal one night. It was a dinner. This is 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And they're talking about this great guy that had done all these things and all this stuff, and they're going to honor him tonight. And I'm still not paying much attention. I don't know who they're talking about.
You're like, this guy sounds fantastic.
And then I'm like, this guy sounds awesome. And at the end, it was me. And I'm like,
it was a whole meal. We had no idea. We were both like, oh, I think they're talking about you. And it was
we were in
kind.
Dallas in a museum. They invited us to a museum.
Yeah.
All these news personalities
like
there and all that stuff.
Glenn Beck's
personal museum, him and David
beautiful.
Barton's.
Yeah.
So it was real crazy. But I would have never stopped and celebrated.
We didn't even have a nice dinner about it.
No, because it's like we got this done. My character is I'm on to the next thing.
Yes.
Like before I'm done with this, in my mind and my heart, this is already done. And I've been in the next thing most of my life. So I think I've missed celebrating some significant moments. And I hate that. If I could do some things over, I would go back and celebrate some of the more significant moments in our life better.
I think that we can get better in this area.
I can.
I love to celebrate. I love a party. I'm a party girl. But there's two sides. Some people are jealous or small-minded and don't think someone should have something, and so they fight against it, you know, and they're not sincere in their compliment, sincere in their celebration, and people can feel that.
Sure.
I was raised in a world where there were a lot of public speakers in the crew, and so everybody was always worried about what they were saying, or they got a lot of attention just naturally through their job.
Right.
And were celebrated a lot for what they, verbally for what they did and those kinds of things. And they would get to the point as they aged, people around me, I would notice, because I was around a lot of preachers, a lot of pastors, a lot of public speakers, a lot of those kinds of people. And I would notice that they would miss everybody else because they were focused on what they were doing. It was all about their agenda, their vision, their thing. And so when we went into that same kind of vein of livelihood, we do get an unnatural amount of good and bad attention. Whenever you do that. And so it's not all
you
good,
get both.
But you get both, and you learn you learn to hide from it, and you don't really like public, for me, it affected me different. It made me not want public attention, because I just thought if I can just kind of do what I'm supposed to do for God, but not get a lot of, then maybe they won't say the mean things either, because I'm kind of sanguine. So I don't really like a lot of when people are really cruel talking to me, it hurts me.
If they see you in life.
Yeah.
The insults are going to be hurled your way.
Yes.
If you're public and if you're out there, doesn't matter how good you are, how bad you are, whatever that is, it's coming, because that's a part of the cost of being known.
Yeah, and that's and not that I'm, you don't even have to be known nationally or on a big scale. You just have to be known locally or in your group or in your community or whatever that is,
Whatever level.
But my reaction to it was to hide and downplay. I would just try to get out of it almost, you know what I mean? And so that it didn't turn bad, because I was also a pastor's kid. So I knew both sides of that coin. You know, I had these things, but I think what I was doing was downplaying people's stuff. So I had to consciously, like even with my kids, they would have these moments that we could celebrate and make life a lot more beautiful. And I would be like, you're fine. Like, it's a thing. Great job. Move along. You know, just like one compliment, whatever. And I had friends that would go through things that were a really big deal to them. And maybe it wasn't a big deal to me. And I would be like, oh, awesome. But like not really sincerely, you know. And so I had to train myself young to look at their celebration and respond to it with the joy that they had. Because maybe
celebrate it the way they want to,
the way they felt it,
within reason. We're not talking about celebrating their stupidity, or we're not agreeing with your new pronouns or your new life or anything.
But I'm talking about like
celebrating stuff, good stuff.
Like I have 3 children,
the way they want,
and my 3rd child, I don't think anybody gave me a shower or anything like that, because it's like the 3rd kid, you know.
Nobody cares.
But then I might have a friend who's been praying for 10 years for a child, and I'm like, oh, it's a baby. Like to me, it's like, okay, we'll give you the regular shower, whatever. But if I could amp up my excitement and train myself to celebrate at a level that they were feeling it, because the excitement inside of them I had forgotten because it had been 3 children later. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And so I had to train my mind and my body, and I would make myself respond to people. You know, oh, I got a promotion at work today. That doesn't mean much to me, but if I had a friend that had that happen, I would like, okay, I need to do something. She loves Hershey bar and a Coke, so I'm going to go get those things. I'm going to take them over to her house, and I'm going to say, today's a great day. Good job. You know what I mean?
Congrats.
And do something simple, but still stopping the day to celebrate for 15 minutes with them, or stopping the week to have a party because you are having the baby you prayed for, or because I'm always just moving to the next things. We work and we love to work and we're going, you know, we have all these people around us having all these highs and lows all the time. And so we learned those things, and I had to make myself emphasize.
I have to learn to pause. The whole thing is about pausing, stopping what your life is about right now, and doing what's important to the person that's weeping or the person that's rejoicing, right? It's really just like, okay, I'm going to lay down me right now.
It's not about me.
It's not about me, and I'm going to focus on you. You're hurting or you're celebrating, and I should take time out of what I'm doing to see to that.
You know, you're a professional when you do it both in the same day too. I can remember
we do it all the time in the same day.
So many times we go from one end of the hospital where someone lost someone,
it's dying,
and I'm giving myself a pep talk on my way to the other end of the hospital. Like, come on, this is their day. They received the child they've prayed for 10 years. You got to get a smile on your face, because I've been weeping with this family, and I've got like 100 steps to come up with celebration for the next family.
For the newborn.
And then you walk in and you rejoice with those people. And that's, I think, how you know that God's really like changed you, is like that professional level of being able to do both, even on the same day, and lay your life down and your thing. I know people that have so much going on in their life that they never take the time to celebrate or weep with those that weep, because it's all about their plan and their job and their agenda and their thing. And they don't even take the time to do that with their kids. And so I just want to encourage you guys today, man, we can get better at this. We can build better community. We can have more than COVID. COVID, people just started canceling funerals and not having parties.
Yeah,
and,
we're not burying grandpa. They're going to put him in the ground, but nobody's having a funeral.
We're going to be like,
because of COVID.
See you later, Grandpa.
See you, Grandpa.
I mean, it's really
been good, Grandpa.
It's tragic, because people felt like they were putting other people in danger, and they didn't, they had all these reasons.
What a bunch of.
But it became an excuse for us.
Yeah, it did.
For not us, but for the world,
the culture
as a whole, to not do what God's asked us to do, which is rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. I tell my kids, I say, it's not fair. It's family. Today's not about you. Another day will be your day, but today is this person's day. So a lot of times in the morning, we recognize who is the person that today is their day. Yeah. And when we would take them to birthday parties, I wouldn't like let them take something or rip something. Even when they were tiny, I would say, no, today's not your birthday. You don't get to open the presents. This is their day. I think it's really good discipline for us to teach our kids about the days that are days that they're being celebrated or mourning with him, and the days that have nothing to do with them.
Yeah, this isn't true.
And it is absolutely okay for there to be days that have nothing to do with us.
Well, I believe this. If kids can recognize, and even if we can recognize, today is a day that has nothing to do about me, right? I'm going to weep with them or rejoice with them. It's about them. Then whenever it's time we need somebody to weep with us or rejoice with us, there's going to be plenty of that incoming into our lives, right?
Because you reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow. And a lot of people don't have the friendships. They don't have the connections in a real human way because they haven't taken time to make the connection.
And it does take time.
It takes time. He who has many friends, the Bible says, must show himself friendly. And when you show yourself friendly, it's not convenient. It takes time. It pulls you out of your schedule. But that's just what you do because you're a decent human, right? And you're a Christian. And we're commanded right there in the book of Romans to rejoice with those who rejoice and to weep with those who weep.
I love that. So go ahead this week, find somebody to rejoice with, find somebody that you can weep with them as they weep, find somebody to connect with on a human level, love somebody like Jesus loves them. Let's make community, let's make friends, let's make the world better than we found it. Let's leave it better than we found it when we came in. We sure do love you guys. We hope that helps. We'll see you soon.
Hey, my name's Brian Gibson. My wife Jessi and I are shooting this podcast together because we've been helping people in every area of their life for over 20-something years as pastors, and we want to do it on a daily basis and come to you live.
Well, I will tell you this. There is nothing you can buy on MyPillow that wouldn't be a great gift. If you're doing Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, you've got an aunt that has a graduation this right now. Any event is a great time for a MyPillow product.
And I can't think of another business guy who's put his life, his name, his business on the line more than Mike Lindell. He's got pillows, he's got sheets, he's got slippers, he's got America running through his blood. You ought to support Mike anyway. I'm all for him.
Make sure that you go to mypillow.com and use Gibson Podcast as your promo code to get your discount today and to support all that we're doing right here on our podcast. Well, not only do I go to the grocery store and buy food for my family at double the rate that I used to, but I see inflation all around me with friends and coworkers that are consistently, trying to find a way to save money, to find a new place to purchase this or to purchase that, because everywhere you go, things are higher. Gas, milk, eggs, every single thing that you touch, the price is so much different than it was just even a little over a year ago.
People ask me often about investments. Where would they put their money? Where would it be safe? I have bought some precious metals, some gold, some silver, mainly because I understand that these things are happening. And I know as long as I have that, right in the book of Genesis, it said that God put gold in the hills of Havilah, and the gold of those hills was good. So I know that God calls gold good. I want to encourage you to go to bh-pm.com, bh-pm.com, schedule a consultation today, and tell them that the Gibsons sent you.
Before we let you go today, I want to mention our new book, Love Handles. You are going to love this. Something to hold on to for your life. Listen, if you are in the best marriage ever, you need the book. If you are in a marriage that's totally jacked up, you need the book. If you have a niece, a nephew, a grandchild that's about to get married, they need the book. And if you've been married 1,000 years, you need the book. And this is why we made it super easy to read. I'm getting testimonials from all over the place, all over the country saying, we read it in one night. We read it while our kids were at soccer practice. We read it in one day. It changed our life. It's great. 10 chapters to change your marriage. And I'm just telling you, you need this in your life because everyone's marriage can use a little help. And some of our marriages can use a lot of help. So we want to make sure and get this in your hand. LoveHandlesBook.com, LoveHandlesBook.com. You can order it there. We would love for you to read it. Brian and I wrote it together from a male and female perspective, and it's going to change your life.
Well, hey, I'm Pastor Brian Gibson. Thank you so much for listening to the Brian and Jessi Show. It's great to have you today.
I'm Jessi, and we're so glad that you joined us. Don't miss the next one. We'll see you then.